everyone here and afar on this very autumnal day here in the Pacific Northwest. We're glad you're joining us here at the Center for Spiritual Living Bellingham. My gratitude today has to do with Mother Earth and the changing of the seasons. As I was driving here, the trees here have begun changing their leaves. There's a mist across the lake that I always drive past on my way here. And the beauty of each season is revealing itself. So I invite you to walk in gratitude today. And let's send us over to our wonderful band today and have some music.
Bless, bless, there we go. When I wake up in the morning or I lay my head to rest, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am free, I am free, I am free. Every day of my life I am free, 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 free. When I wake up in the morning or I lay my head to rest, I am free, I am free. All right, sing it out. I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed. Every day of my life I am blessed, 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 blessed. When I wake up in the morning or I lay my head to rest, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed. One more time. I am blessed, I am blessed. Well, good morning, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Take a minute to, I don't know, elbow bump your neighbors if you're here in town. And if you're out on social media, say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from. All right.
I have excessive fog going on today.
All right, you want to click us off not too fast? I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. 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 My soul is welcome here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Philip Flores. I'm your practitioner of the day. So please join me for an opening invocation. So this I know is true, that there is only one infinite love, one infinite divine presence, one universal consciousness, and it is here right now and always. And I am a individualized expression of this divine mind, this divine consciousness, and so are you. And together, I welcome this presence right here at this moment as we gather in community, virtually as well as physically, and I know that all is well. So welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome to this day. Welcome to this moment. And so it is.
And so it is.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. May I never lose my wonder. 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 Sing that with us. May I never lose my wonder. 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 Wide-eyed and mystified, may I be just like a child, staring at the beauty of the world. May I never lose my wonder. 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 Wide-eyed and mystified, may I be just like a child, staring at the beauty of the world. Wide-eyed and mystified, wide-eyed and mystified, may I be just like a child, staring at the beauty of the world. May I never lose my wonder. May I never lose my wonder. May I never lose my wonder. May I never lose my wonder.
Okay, you're training us not to clap. It's a whole different thing. Welcome again, everybody, and thank you, all of you who have provided that beautiful, inspirational music. So we're in September, and the theme for the month is a hidden wholeness. And this particular talk is called The Blessing and the Curse of Consciousness. And you've experienced both. I know you have. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that and some of the insights that I've had recently around that. So to begin with, just consciousness. I can still remember where I was sitting as a 19-year-old student of the science of mind, listening to one of our teachers. And I had been in a center for over a year, and they threw that word around all the time. And it was the first time in my young life that I'd even heard the word consciousness really used like we use it all the time. And he was standing there and he said, "Does anybody know what consciousness really means?" And I'm thinking to myself, not exactly. So he went on to explain that the use we make of that word is to illuminate the understanding that there is something that dwells within all of us, that is individualized by each of us, that is part of a larger understanding, a larger wisdom, a larger intelligence, and that larger intelligence individualized by us is what we would call our consciousness, although really it's not separate from the larger wisdom and intelligence that is everywhere present. It was a good definition, and kind of allowed me to understand that wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, whoever I'm with, available to me is more than what I understand. There's something greater that I can allow to come forward in through me, which is what I do actually every Sunday. Is on the way here I do a prayer to allow a great wisdom to flow in me, through me, and as me, that I might not necessarily be in touch with every single moment of my life, although that's the goal. So what happens when we understand consciousness, this individualization of this vast intelligence that we would call spirit or love or whatever you want to call it, is that there's a moment in time, in linear time, when we awaken. And the first awakening, because I wanted to talk to you about a couple of awakenings. The first awakening is when we step out of the law of averages. So for a lot of our lives, and it doesn't have to do with age, it has to do with awakening. So for a lot of our lives, we go along to get along. We're trained and taught by people who, for the most part, are fairly well-intended. They want us to survive at least. And many parents are even better at that than others. And they teach us what they know. And so we receive that. That is our initial consciousness, our formative consciousness. And as you might imagine, it's fairly limited, because what we receive until we begin to go to school, at least, is what they have. And what they have isn't the whole shebang. None of us carries that. And they also receive that from their ancestral lineage. So we get that. And often that consciousness, that initial consciousness, is governed by a lot of the ideas that our ancestral lineage held. So it's limited in the sense that there's a lot of ideas in there. Pick your ancestral lineage. There's a lot of ideas that aren't necessarily the most loving, the most expanded, the most accepting. In fact, for most of us, the lineage that we came from was fairly tribal in its original state. And so some of that tribal consciousness can follow down the centuries and end up right here, right with us. And so I call that the law of averages, which is a term that one of the initial founders of the science mind philosophy, kind of the grandfather, his name was Judge Thomas Troward. And he talked a lot about how we are governed by those ideas that we first took in until we awaken. And when we awaken, the first awakening is a recognition that we actually have choice. Sounds so simple, but for many of us, it takes a while for us to realize that we don't have to do like a knee-jerk reaction every time we encounter something that our tribe told us was this, that, or the other. We don't have to do that. We don't have to be defensive. We don't have to be argumentative. We don't have to whatever your tribe did. Mine was great at judging. That was their deal. They were really good at that. And so for years, I just thought that's what everybody did. Really, how about you, right? Yeah. So it came as an awakening to realize that actually there's a different way to live in the world where there's a cessation of judgment in terms of making other people right and wrong. There's always discernment, because that's the level of survival that we need to assess whether something's safe or not. Judgment goes the extra mile and makes things wrong or right. And so for me, the awakening came when I began to study this teaching, and the teaching was very clear. Oh, no, you don't have to do that. What? What? Seriously? You don't have to do that. And other ideas soon followed suit, where it was like, oh, I don't need to be living in lack. That was another one that was really, really good in my family. It wasn't that we lacked, but it was the idea that there was not quite enough in the world. And so always, there was this little idea that my candy bar was mine, and if I shared it, I wouldn't have enough, right? So I don't have to do that anymore either. And so many others began to fall by the wayside. Occasionally they pop up like zombies, but most of the time they're gone. And that's the first awakening, is the awakening to choice. And, the realization goes something like this. Marcus Aurelius said this. He said, so if one is pained by any external thing, it is not the thing that disturbs, but one's own judgment about it. And it is in one's power to wipe out this judgment right now. So choice. And this choice, this awakening to choice, is part of the Science of Mind path, is part of what we teach people about, because we see that many of us, all of us, I don't know, a lot of us have been living by the law of averages for a long time. And so we teach about, wow, do you think you could imagine living from a place of freedom where the outer might still be happening the way it's always been happening, but the choice of how we respond to it is now not an automatic knee-jerk reaction, but rather a clear choice made internally. I'll give you an example. I'll give you one of the hardest examples, and that is tribal wisdom says, I don't even want to call it wisdom, tribal understanding might say, if your tribe was like mine, that when someone does harm to any member of the tribe, that is cause for retaliation, and there will be absolutely no forgiveness ever. So that seems to be a tribal understanding around the world, not just in the land that my people came from, where until very recently there was no forgiveness on either side of the conflict that was going on, and retaliation was the name of the game. That happens worldwide, sadly, and is still happening. So when we begin to awaken to our choice, we have the understanding that we no longer have to respond in that manner. That if someone harms us or someone that we love, we don't have to retaliate with words or expressions of violence, but rather we can move into a place where we are looking at it from a perspective that says, I choose to stop the retaliation and violence so that my children no longer have that. I choose to live a life where I see the harm that is done, I acknowledge it, but I work with it in a different fashion. And I learn to move with discernment and forgiveness, which takes time. Forgiveness takes time when we've been harmed or one we love has been harmed. And yet the response is different. We choose something else. Powerful. But what I didn't realize for a long time is that there are other levels of awakening that happen along the spiritual path. And the next one that I became conscious of is the in-between place between the awakening to choice and the next one, which I'm calling illumined action. So in between awakening to choice and illumined action, there's this interesting ground where we use choice and the awareness that we don't have to react, but can respond instead, to begin to look at the situations we find ourselves in and choose to act in a different manner. So the question that we often ask in some form or another is, given the current challenge that I'm facing, whatever that might be for you, given the current challenge that I'm facing, how can I go forward with purpose in the midst of this very hard thing? How can I go forward? So now there's choice, and it's asking, what can I do? And that's a really fundamental step to get us to the next place of awakening. It's a great question. If you're going through a hard time, rather than reacting, asking, what can I do to move with purpose in this very difficult situation I find myself in? So what happens when we've done that enough is another level of awakening. And this one is, I'm calling it illumined action, because it has more to do with a broader awakening to choice at a different level. And so I have never really talked about this like this. So forgive me if I'm kind of trying to find words, but it's like this. It's like this for me. It's sometimes all of a sudden, sometimes very slowly, we begin to encounter the world of our senses, and we begin to realize that we are completely 100% interconnected with everything, all life, that there's not a single thing that we encounter that we can leave out of our loving regard. We begin to see that our very existence in human form is dependent upon all sorts of interactions all over the globe happening all the time in our favor. Just the very food on your plate is an example of that, where we begin to understand that, I had a tamale for breakfast. The tamale that I had, which had zucchini and corn and was topped with an egg from someone who raises chickens here in our county, that all of that food actually was brought forward by a myriad of not only the growers, but then the harvesters and the people that put it together and the people that brought it to the grocery store and the people that sold it to me. And then I brought it home and my husband actually made it. And, there's this interbeing that when we awaken even further into choice, we understand, oh, there is no place I can be in this world that isn't intimately tied with everything else. And what begins to happen, if you're like me, is you realize that there's a powerful illumination of my kinship with all life and the need to act that way. The need to act that way. And for me, the interconnection, the awareness of that is easily forgotten. It's easy to just go to the store, buy the food, not think about any of what I just said, and just take it home and eat it, right? It's super easy to just go around thinking that I'm the only one, or that I'm not so interconnected that my every single action, my every single word, and even indeed the way we think is even our thoughts impact the whole. And yet, in this illumined action stage of awakening, we begin to understand, well, that actually is true. That I can do a prayer, a spiritual mind treatment for Amber's dog, and it will affect that dog and that family, the surgeon that's going to completely eradicate anything and everything that might be troubling that dog, that there's a power that we actually walk around with. But like a toddler who gets into the cab of a truck and turns the key on, a lot of times we don't know what we're doing. We don't really know where we're driving. We're not awake enough. And so this place of awakening is a very powerful understanding. And because it is so powerful, it's very difficult to hold moment by moment. Because if we were to appreciate that all the time, I'm not sure. I think we might turn into one of the Jain people who have a broom and they sweep the sidewalk before they take a step so they won't kill anything, because there's an awareness of, oh my gosh, everything is interconnected. So where this level of awakening leads often is to a mystical experience of life. We begin to see that the labels we've put onto everything for convenience actually don't begin to capture what's happening here. At the women's retreat recently, we were talking about this, and we were saying, it's so easy to slap a label on something and say, well, that's a tree. Is it? I mean, it is. That's the label we've given it. But if we remove that label and we just are in a connected awareness with something like that, there's so much more going on than tree. There's all kinds of stuff that we become aware of without the label. So we awaken out of the kind of rote way of classifying everything, and we come into a relationship where hopefully you do this in your personal lives, where we allow the relationship to inform us and we allow the relationship to grow. And in the awareness that begins to dawn, we are called into action. Everyone's different. Because 9/11 was yesterday, the 20th anniversary, of course, there were a lot of stories circulating, and I heard one that I hadn't heard, maybe you've heard it, but it was an example of being called into action on one level. So when the plane hit the Pentagon, most people didn't realize that there was a huge daycare center in the Pentagon for all the workers. And so there were I forget how many they said, like 80 plus babies in cribs and toddlers in this daycare center in the Pentagon. And the cribs that they had were those old-fashioned, really heavy metal ones with wheels. And there were only a few daycare workers, and there were all these children, which is another issue we could act on, but that's for another time. And so they didn't know how to get these children out. And, they needed to get out. So they're really, really, really upset, and they're trying not to communicate that to the children. And all of a sudden, this young Marine comes racing in to the daycare center and says, "What do you need?" And they're like, "We need to get these children out, and we don't have enough people, and the cribs are too heavy, and we can't figure out a way." And the Marine kind of looks at him for a minute and turns around and runs away. And they're thinking, "Oh, great. now we're abandoned again." But pretty soon, he brings back 40 of his Marine buddies, and they begin to load the toddlers into the cribs with babies, and they push these cribs down and help each other get them down out of that building. And they wheel them and walk them through to a park that's nearby, and they circle those cribs like a covered wagon circle, or like buffalo circle, in a circle of protection. They put the toddlers in the middle so they couldn't get out, and then the Marines circled the cribs so that there was a barrier of humanity, so that if anybody tried to mess with those kids, they were going to have to deal with the Marines first. I didn't know that story, did you? Yeah, really sweet story, and I made it through without crying, which is really good. Um, um, the Marines were trained to be awake in emergency situations. They were trained in their physical beingness. They were strong. They were able to do things like that. And so you might take that story and say, well, I can't do that kind of thing. Illumined action must be out for me because I can't do that kind of thing. But the thing is, what I realized in listening to that story is, we've been in training too, you and me. We've been training for a lifetime. We may not be the buff, macho young Marine running to get the cribs, but we've been training in other things that are equally important and necessary for the web of life, for the interconnectedness. We've been training all our lives in how to love, how to forgive, how to offer support, how to be of service, how to bring ourselves to difficult situations, how to have patience. That's one of mine. How to have patience. I've been training a lifetime. I can tell it's going to be another lifetime or two before I really get it. All of these things are just as valuable as what the Marines did that day, as long as we offer them. As long as we don't bottle them up and think, oh, I'm just an insignificant little person that doesn't have anything to offer, but instead we offer what we have. This is illumined action. When we offer to the whole what we've trained in, what we have to give. And we're all different, so it's going to be different for all of us. And yet the value is immeasurable. In this level of awakening, we see it, we know it. It can be as simple as smiling at someone who feels like they're invisible. Saying a kind word that stays with that person the rest of their life. Carrying forward an expression that someone you care about who's now passed away, carrying forward their expression so that they're remembered by you and those who love them. Simple stuff, right? So for me, this level of illumined action is what we're called to in our world today. There are so many things calling out to be healed, to be lifted, to be uplifted into a different expression. And it's going to take all of us, because of the web of life that we share, to bring those things more fully into a new way. But we can do that. We've done it before. Thousands of generations of our ancestors have trained us to be at this moment in time to offer what we have to offer. So don't despair, but instead begin to ask the question, what do I have to offer to make this world an even better place to be in for everyone and all species everywhere? So I brought this weird thing. It's not weird to me, but it might be weird to you. For years and years and years, I have really cherished St. Francis of Assisi. And when I actually got to go to Assisi, I was a good, 1,000 feet away from the Assisi Cathedral and burst into tears because the energy was so strong from all those pilgrims going to that place. And so, of course, his peace prayer is known around the world. But it's a prayer that for Science of Mind people might be difficult because he's coming from a different place, and yet he's not. When you understand that what he's coming from is these awakened state of illumined action, you begin to understand this prayer more fully. So there's a word that's used in here, sow. And when I just heard this prayer, I thought it was S-O, but it's not. It's S-O-W, as in sowing seeds, right? So I'm going to close with the prayer of St. Francis and then talk a little bit about it. And of course, he had Jesus as his guide. And so he referred to Jesus, because he lived in medieval times, as his Lord, Lord and Lady, Duke and Duchess, all that. So his Lord. So Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. So when you come from the awareness of illumined action, that opening to the interconnectedness of all life, what you begin to realize is that what Francis is speaking from is an understanding that when we die to the small self, the ego that was bound by tradition and habit and reactivity, we come into a different place of awareness, and we have the opportunity to be the gift as well as receive it in this endless reciprocity of living that we're part of. So the prayer takes on new meaning in that way, and I hope it's something that you can understand and maybe find help in. So that's all I've got today. 2 levels of awakening. The first is powerful, the power of choice. The second is miraculous, the power of action. So let's invite the band back up. Thank you. And they will give us the gift that they have trained their lives into. And as you listen to each one of them, hold for a minute the hours and hours and hours, decades, that they have been utilizing their instruments, utilizing their voices to lift us up. And while you're doing that, the ushers are coming by with the baskets.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day for love. Thank you for this love, Spirit. Thank you for this love. Thank you for this love, Spirit. Thank you for this love. This healing, this healing, this healing love. This healing, this healing, this healing love. And for peace, thank you for this peace, Spirit. Thank you for this peace. Thank you for this peace, Spirit. Thank you for this peace. This healing, this healing, this healing peace. This healing, this healing, this healing peace. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day.
So a couple of announcements that are happening. We are, Zena, would you mind standing up and turning around? This is Zena Kacha. And she has a beautiful picture here without the mask. And she is going to be beginning the Foundations course, which is the central course that we invite you to think about taking, because it goes through the awakening into choice and the many principles that assist in moving out of reactivity and opening to illumined action. It begins on the 22nd, which is a Wednesday, and it goes from 6 to, 8:30. And it's going to be offered in a hybrid format, meaning that you can come here, be in the classroom with Sina, and be in person, or you can tune in through Zoom and have a wonderful experience of the class that way. So you need to register for this if you're thinking about coming, and we would love you to do that. So you email the center office, and they will not only get you registered, but give you the Zoom link so that you can be a part of it if you're Zooming in. 22nd. Don't want you to miss it. If you need a Science Mind textbook, we have some loaners. Just let us know you need one, and we'll put your name on it, and you'll have that. That's the only textbook required for that class. Today is the day that we are taking Let Love Be Our Legacy, which is one of our slogans, to the hospital to be in action with that idea. And we're going to be inviting anyone who would like to come, wear a mask, and just be there to let the staff of the hospital, from the people who make the food for the patients to the doctors and the nurses and the respiratory therapists and everybody, to let them know how very much we appreciate their work and their willingness to stand on the front lines and help people manage pain, eliminate sickness, and become well again. So we're going to be there at 3 o'clock. The announcement on the web says 2:45, but the hospital has moved a couple of things. So we don't have to be there till 3. And we are going to be outside the main entrance. So I'd also like to invite any of you who are drummers to bring your drum. We're not allowed to sing. They're being super, super cautious. And so we're going to be drumming and just, smiling behind the mask and, giving thanks. It looks like it might be raining, so I think I'm going to bring my umbrella and maybe put something that says thank you on it. And so we'd love you to fill out a little gift thank you card if you'd like, and we'll hand those over to the administrators there. They're not allowed to receive food directly, but they can receive gift cards. So if you would like to purchase a gift card at a local business for $5, $10, whatever, and bring it, they have a jar that's a non-tip jar for the drummers, and they'll give everything to the folks at the hospital. So that's 3 o'clock today. Shouldn't be there more than half an hour, 40 minutes. Love you to come. It's after the football game, so no excuses. Also today at noon, for those of you who would like to attend the men's circle, they're going to be meeting in hybrid fashion. And so Philip will be here, and you can join him if you'd like to be in person, but you also can access the Zoom link that's on our website and tune in that way and be a part of the discussion and the sharing that's going on. That's at noon today, and that goes for about an hour and a half. We also have a brand new group who are leading the women's circle that are beginning to meet next Sunday at noon, and they're going to be meeting from noon to 1:30 as well, also in a hybrid format. And we'd love you, if you identify as a woman, to come and be a part of that as well. And the last thing that I guess there's two things. One is that every year, except last year, we celebrate the equinox by going to Old Fairhaven Park and walking the labyrinth. And so you're invited to come if you would like, bring your mask, and we will do a prayer. We will offer an intention on equinox, which happens to also be the night of Zena's class. So if you're a student, Just think of us, but come to her class. And the rest of us will go to the park and walk the labyrinth with our intention. We're going to meet at 6, and because it's the equinox, by the time we're done walking the labyrinth, it's getting dark. So bring a flashlight or a lantern so that you can find your way back to the car. And then lastly, the Greening with Integrity thing that I've been asked to be a part of. Very excited to do that. It's part of the City of Bellingham's All In for Climate Action, has moved to a Zoom format. And that's because the numbers have gone up in our lovely city, and the City of Bellingham is encouraging everyone who's doing something for their week to be Zooming. So you need to register to receive that link. So in your announcements, if you go on the web for the center announcements or you get Constant Contact, there's a link you click and then you just give them your name and they'll send you the link. So that's happening. All right, right now, why don't we stand and enjoy the music as we prepare to go into the day with illuminated action.
Gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. Gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. Leave behind what's weighing me down, wash away what's holding me back. My heart is falling, face forward, feet on the ground, living in this courage I found. The sky is calling, gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. No doubt about it, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. Leave behind what's weighing you down, leave behind what's weighing me down, wash away what's holding me back. My heart is falling, face forward, feet on the ground, living in this courage I found. The sky is calling, leave behind what's weighing me down, wash away what's holding me back. My heart is falling, face forward, feet on the ground, living in this courage I found. The sky is calling, gonna climb this mountain, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time. Beautiful voices. No doubt about it, won't stop till I get to the top, one step at a time, 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 one step at a time. Thank you all for being in community with us today. We'll see you again soon.